Good day, everyone. Welcome to BSC News Live. It's fantastic to have you here. It's fantastic to have you here. Great, good. So obviously, in the last 15 minutes or so, the price of Bitcoin has gone down. Not devilishly low to about 21,000 or so. So we're still in that 20-25 range. And this could have come off the back of some news about Silvergate. So I think it was at the end of last week, early this week, we covered a little bit of news about Silvergate, and it sounds as though now it has gone out of business. But first of all, actually, hello, Ben. How are you? Sorry.
Good, Tom. No, the Silvergate thing is another black eye for the beat up crypto industry.
Yeah, it's an interesting way of putting it. Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, so I mean, things were looking not great for them recently, and then I haven't actually seen any very, very recent news about Silvergate. Have you got any updates at all from when we last spoke about them?
Yeah, so they have announced that they're shutting down, liquidating everything, which means obviously they're not even like playing the game of like, can we raise capital to cover our debt? I think they're just shutting down. So I don't know. You should pull up the Silvergate stock price. I do think there were some investors, I forget who it was, but I read that there were some big name investors that like bought the dip. And then it just, there's like that saying, like, just because it went down 90% doesn't mean it can't go down another 90%.
Yeah. Hold on. Okay, I'll bring up the chart. It doesn't look great at all.
It was down 50%. Yeah, that looks a lot worse.
So, and this is on logarithmic view. So if it's just got this little thing.
So Silvergate equals Metalgate now. So that first gap, if you see that first gap up there, right there, that was when that overnight news came that they like weren't gonna issue filings, and it looks like the new red is now.
Yeah, in response to today's news, I saw CZ tweeted about it that customer funds are SAFU because they don't deal with Silvergate, but I think there are there will be a few crypto companies that do deal and do have holdings with Silvergate. And do you think time will just tell before we find out who they are?
Probably. It's the same thing as always, right? So if they're having to liquidate, they lost customer funds. Like, it's the same thing that we've been dealing with over and over again. And the only question is, who are the customers?
Yeah. Is Kraken? Does Kraken use Silvergate?
So Kraken does use them, or did use them for. This is what we talked about last time. Like, they use them for transfer, like wire transfers. I don't know if it means Kraken has customer funds that are like USD held with Silvergate. That was the info that I couldn't figure out when I was trying to kind of look into it. But yeah, they did use them for overnight wires and that type of stuff. So I'm sure they have other options also, and hopefully they didn't actually have funds in the bank itself.
Yeah, definitely. Well, apologies to those people that bought the dip. It looks as though people are still buying the dip though, because obviously red means up. So it dipped right down to $2.83, and then it's gone up since from there. So people are still buying it. But do you think this is just a case of trading for trading's sake?
Probably. Or there's always people that buy like bankruptcy announcements hoping that, you know, some agreement is made and then the company gets saved, kind of thing.
I see.
You know, it's just gambling. It
Big
does
time.
sound like, I mean, they just looking at news headlines, every headline says they are liquidating and going out of business.
Okay. Well, there we go. And yeah, we'll see what knock-on effects this will have in the wider industry. Hopefully, it doesn't affect consumers too much, and obviously, hope it doesn't affect industries too much either. Hopefully, it doesn't affect too many people, basically. But time will tell, and obviously, we'll keep you up to date on that. So the main sort of topic today, Ben, was we're going to talk about bots. Obviously, you mentioned on your Twitter, I think last night, that you were starting to experiment with a few bots. And some of the replies to that tweet I found quite interesting as well. Do you want to just maybe talk us through a little bit, why, you're starting to experiment a little bit with bots, and what are your thoughts on using, I know it's a very wide term, but trading bots in crypto?
So I used dollar cost average bots a couple years ago, and I've always I like them, right? If it kind of like it's a tool to produce cash flow in a sense, but you gotta obviously like manage risk on different ends, choose the right assets. There's a lot that goes into it. And honestly, I think I'm looking back into it, I think almost out of like boredom, right? Like in terms of, the DeFi space, the yields have shrunk a little bit. They're still good compared to most other assets. But bots are just another way to generate cash flow. And so I started to look into grid bots. I think I've had enough of the dollar cost average bots, and I'm just looking into grid bots at this point.
Good. And I think using the term grid bot, obviously, we'll get into exactly what it is and things. But a lot of people have a misconception about bots, that they're a bad thing in trading in crypto. And there's this one comment that I'm just going to share on the screen now.
Oh, the pump and dump comment?
Yeah. So this person, he's obviously more than entitled to his own opinion, which is great. He says he's never used one, but if you already have / made a bot yourself, use yours instead. Using bots is, in inverted commas, normal on KuCoin. Pump and dump 24/7. However, using bots is normal pretty much everywhere. Investment banks, quantum trading, that is just bots. I think personally, trading by hand and clicking a button, placing an order, that's less normal than using an automated system. Obviously, as retail traders, that's essentially what we have to do, because we can't develop complex algorithms based on incredibly fast frequency trading. But using bots to trade is very, very, very common. Obviously, front-running bots, that's an entirely different thing, and we're not talking about that in Tool. But a grid bot, we'll go over sort of what it is, what it does. So I'm just going to, if we just explain it perhaps with a simple chart, and then we'll, get more into it. So first of all, I'm just going to bring up Bitcoin. Oh, that's not very nice to see, is it?
Look at all that green.
I know. That's good. Yeah, all that green. If you're watching this and it's your first time watching, on my charts, green means down, red is up. So in a way, everyone's a winner, whatever happens. So what a grid bot does essentially, I'm just going to, in a nutshell, It places orders above and below where the current price is, and as volatility occurs or as the price goes up and down, it buys and sells. So I'm just going to delete some. I'm just going to try and get up an empty Bitcoin chart for us. There we are. Okay. So if we have these horizontal rays, and if we have them, in red. So red means that we're going to buy, basically. So, and we have these buy orders at certain points above our current price. And if we keep on putting them in, it could look something like this. Actually, sorry, these are sell orders. Sorry. So these red lines are sell orders. And then below this, what we can have are our buy orders. And I'm just going to change this to green. 2 seconds. So below the current price, we have buy orders. And what we can see that could happen, as the price goes down, we'd fill these buy orders and buy. And these buy orders, after the price goes past them, they would then turn in to sell orders. So once this buy order is bought, say here, what will happen? A sell order will then be created slightly above it, or at the same place, but when the price goes down a little bit more, because if you have it pretty much at the same place, it won't give you a profit because of the trading fees. So after you've gone past this buy order, it'll turn into a sell order, and then you go buy. So when you've reached the bottom, essentially what you'd have is all these sell orders going up. So as you go up again, sell. And that's basically it. And the sell orders that are placed after a buy order are generally a little bit above where the buy orders were placed. So essentially you'll be making a profit. But then when you come back down again, you'll be buying, selling. So it works if there's volatility in the coin or token. And you need to choose a range to have it in. And I'll show some more graphical representations of different platforms soon. This is just a bit of a DIY one. Ben, shall I share your screen? And would you like to give a little explanation and demo of what you've been up to?
Sure, go ahead. So I basically just set up, I'm using KuCoin, obviously, even though, if I'm going to go to the pump and dump platform, I'm going to it. And I set up a bunch of different strategies. I think I know the ones, just really right off the bat, what I'm going to stick with. And there's, you see this infinity grid, there's future grid, there's spot grid, bunch of different types. This optimism USDT pair has actually been the most active up to this point. What happened was it dropped enough to trigger that first buy order, and then it just kept bouncing between that buy and sell over and over and over again. So it did like 7 of them real quick. And then obviously the market's dumping, so everything's just kind of loading up right now. It, like, you can tell this one's had 14 trades over the course of, it's about 8 a.m. my time. That's 2 p.m. UTC. So 5 hours, 14 trades. And here's a futures one that's had a few trades. And because it's 2x leverage, I've got about half the money in. Oh, trade just happened. It's kind of fun to see that happen. And so that, like, there's, if you look at each one, there's 2 different numbers to look at. One is what's my unrealized gain or loss. So I'm negative in the position because I'm buying and it's continuing to drop. So whatever I'm buying is actually losing value. But then the grid profits is when it goes back up enough to sell one of those buy orders. And really the spots where I want to be, I don't love leverage. I wanted to set up, if I'm going to do it, at least with 2x leverage, I'll use a larger token that's less volatile. Something like BNB. You can use Bitcoin or Ethereum. But I don't know. I'm really a spot kind of person, less risk. And then it's easier to manage the outside of your range. You can kind of decide, if we just have this total market meltdown because, let's say, the FDIC And banking regulators come in after Silvergate and say, all right, we need all the banks to turn off the tap until we regulate this. That could happen in the United States. Hopefully it doesn't, but it could. Obviously, there's going to be a massive sell off. So if it got to the bottom of my range here, I could say, okay, I'm using a token that I like long term. I'm just going to sit here and wait until the price recovers, and then I'm going to start selling on the way up. However, if you're doing something with futures, with leverage, you're going to get into that liquidation territory and you may not want to hold it. You may just need to cut your losses. Obviously with 2x leverage, BNB would have to get all the way down to $86 before I would hit that liquidation. But even before that, if it got down to 150, I'm not using a huge amount. This is really just an experiment for me with that. I'm not going to have a whole lot of money left there. Right. So it'll get pretty hairy. But running a spot grid with Bitcoin, which apparently that just hit a trade as well. So what's interesting is we're having this rebound right now, and I'm starting to see these trades execute. And that's, it was kind of the first hour. I was like, come on, do something, right? The market was just like completely flat for the first 2 hours. And yeah, volatility is going to be my friend. Obviously, like on my Bitcoin pair, the bottom price range is 15,000. So way down, another 25% drop.
That's
so my range is big. I'm not too worried about that at the moment. Man, this optimism one is going crazy. And what I also want to look at is, this number is one thing, the unrealized gains or losses. But what I care about is the cash flow of the positions. This is really like a profits generating, cash generating system. So right now, based on this volatility, this optimism position is getting me about 13% annual APR. So overall, not bad, especially since about half the time it's been running, there was almost no volatility.
Indeed. And from what I can see, for example, your Bitcoin price range. So I used to use grid bots a fair amount. I haven't used them in a while. I've since I stopped trading sort of all the time, and now I just occasionally buy spot here and there, which has made my life so much more relaxing. But from looking at your spot grid BTC/USDT, the range of 15,237 to 28,297, it looks as though that the length of time perhaps that you could have that open, that to me is a fairly wide range. So in your head, sort of how long would you keep these bots open, or would you just keep them open until they've gone through the roof of your upper level?
I think so. That's where it's all about, putting in money that I don't need to access anytime soon. So let's say Bitcoin did have a horrific 2 weeks and it drops to 12,000 or something, right? Like who knows? It could happen, right? That nothing's ever off the table. I want to be in a position where I can just sit, if that's the case, that entire position has purchased Bitcoin. I have no more USDT in the position. It's all Bitcoin. So in my mind, the way I look at it right now is I'll just sit on that Bitcoin because I'm willing to hold that through. And that's another reason why I wouldn't do this with an asset that I'm not comfortable like holding through, the worst price impact of whatever could happen. Now, the upper end, let's say it jumped to 30,000. Somehow there's great news, price pumps, or just over time it gets to 30,000. Now I'm fully in USDT. I could turn that bot off, or I could just leave it there. It's holding cash. And if Bitcoin drops, it'll start to buy it again, and then it'll sell for profit. So there may not be, a reason to do anything rushed, right? Like I could always turn it off. I could start a new range at that new price. So let's say it got to 30,000. Now I could put my spread from 25 to 35,000 and do it that way. Or I could just leave it as cash and wait to see if Bitcoin comes back down and starts generating some more profits. which, that's where like the challenge is going to be, I think the bottom bound, I'm pretty set on. I'll just hold the crypto until it recovers. The
Indeed.
top's the trickier part. How do I want to manage that? Right. That's the tricky part.
I've entered what your levels. You're buying. Well, I'll share my screen. It'll make it easier. So, there's this piece of software that I used to use for grid trading called BitsGap, and it's a third-party website that connects to exchanges APIs, and you place all your trades through this website because it's got a bit more of a customizable, customizable grid settings than the exchanges themselves. So this is your current BTC spread back-tested, but back-testing doesn't necessarily show how effective it's going to be, obviously, in the future. So the entry price at the moment would be around, well, where we are at the moment. And it's telling us that the break-even price is around 22.9. So hold on a second. I'm just going to make sure I've got this correct. So I've got BTC BUSD, and the low price 15,237, high price 28,297. And what we can do, okay, fine, yeah, and then we can click backtest, and then choose a date range as well to backtest for it. At the moment, it's backtesting from the 7th of last month to now. So if we opened it on, well, here on the 7th of January. No, that's 2 months ago. Yeah, so January, February the 7th here.
Yep.
So that's why it's saying the break even is there, because that's the price we entered. But if we were to, have it sort of at this price, which if we actually change it to the 20th of Jan, January I'm just going to need to make this a bit smaller. Hold on. January. I don't know why I can't go backwards. Oh well. Okay, yeah. So you can backtest your strategies using this website called BitsGap as well, and you can also change your grid step percentage. So we can maybe have this. I don't know. Let's put it at 1%. See what happens, and it changes the spread, sort of how far apart they are. And if we change to 5%, obviously it changes, even more. But doing that changes the amount of grid levels you have. The most that you can have is 180. And as we can see, when the volatility happens, that's sort of when the grid would be most effective.
Yeah. So if you want to plug this in real quick, put 0.5.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
And then put 100.
Okay, so it's going to need to be 0.62 because you can either do either one. But I think this is essentially what you've got at the moment.
It'll be pretty close.
Yeah. So as we go down, there we are. And you can see other strategies as well that other people have done, which is quite interesting. So
actually, I'm curious. Put in the OP, so optimism token, paired with a stable coin, whatever stable coin you can have on there.
Yeah, there we go.
And then 100 levels.
And then the low price of 2.036, high price 2.624.
So optimism would be low price of 1.65.
Yeah.
And high price of 3.07.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's a nice range, I think. Because we can see from the chart as well, if we just change it to maybe... Oh, hold on. Okay, I'm going to change it back to 1 day, sorry. That range looks nice. Yeah, and if we click back test, fingers crossed, see what's going to happen. Cool.
So is
There we go.
that's speculating about 8% per month?
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
It is good. However,
and obviously, yeah, Optimism token has been pretty volatile. So now, obviously, it's not a guaranteed 8% per month,
of
but
course,
maybe it lands half of that.
indeed. The KuCoin, people do a lot of grid trading, and sometimes, yeah, there's a lot of volatility on KuCoin. There's this token called Fear, which is like a GameFi token, or it's a GameFi project that has this token. Hold on a moment. I'm just going to change to 1 day. Yeah, and obviously there are large wicks, which using a grid bot, can help. So here we've got 168 levels, high price and low price. There we can also, manually adjust our high and low price, which is useful. If we do it like that, maybe. Backtest this. It's a little bit better, but we can get that number to even higher. Yeah, the more that you sort of play around with it, the more that you can, sort of perfect your grid bot. So if we look now, so 30 days result, 14.46. If we change the number of grid levels to 80 and see how this, it's gone down. Okay, try 180. Okay.
Now, I wonder if that accounts for fees, because if you're doing 180 levels, that's a lot of trades. It's a lot of fees.
It is, yeah, yeah. But it's quite interesting just to back test it, and that's using the website bitsgap.com, and you can choose pretty much any exchange, any pair, and backtest. But backtesting, with grid bots, it's not necessarily a good representation of what's to come, basically. But it's an interesting thing to see.
It is. So I'm just going to let these run. We will kind of see how they perform over time. There's been some more trades since you were sharing already. This BNB futures one got a trade in there.
Oh, good.
What I'm looking at is like in terms of monetary, dollars and profits. So, I don't know if the volatility can get this to a couple dollars a day. We'll see if that's possible. Right now, I'm sitting at, let's see, that's 25, 27, 20, about 30 cents. Roughly, like I can see a couple dollars a day being possible. If there's more volatility, it'll go up. The first part of today really had no volatility. So most of this was from about the last 2 hours, I would say.
Okay.
So about 30 cents in 2 hours.
Yeah.
But, if it could generate $50 a month, $100 a month, that would be about a 50% APR on the portfolio. So, I don't have huge expectations, but I think it's interesting. I'm going to test it out for a while.
Yeah, it's well, it's a good strategy. Well, in my opinion, it's a good strategy to use. The more people that use a grid bot on one specific exchange, the volatility will get less and less, because obviously just people are putting orders in the order book. So when there's a wick or when there's volatility, essentially your grid bot will slow that volatility down. So if you go on KuCoin, for example, I'm just going to quickly share my KuCoin tab, and we go on. Actually, hold on. We've gone trade and then trading bots. It's sort of got a ranking of other users, sort of what they're doing. So spot grid. I can see it on the phone, but I don't know why I can't see it here. But what you can do on KuCoin, which is
there's a leaderboard right above you there.
Oh, there we are. Okay, good. Yeah, so leaderboard. And it shows you their strategies as well. So look at these APRs: 5,000, 4,000. Looks pretty good. 7-day profits. 9,000. And if we look at this person's strategy, well, yeah, they've got a price. Well, this basically.
I don't know what high beans is. So for me, with part of my strategy is, would I use something I'm not willing to hold if it dips down? I don't know if I'm going to be picking up high beans personally, but there's a lot of risk in that, especially if you look at that token.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, indeed, there is a lot of risk.
And it just launched, so I wonder if speculating, and nobody do this, but when KuCoin launches a new low market cap token, setting up a grid bot to trade it could be incredibly profitable, or
well, yeah,
you
look
could
at that
lose a lot of
wick.
money in a hurry.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, so this grid bot now, essentially what you'd be doing is buying. Well,
You're bought.
buying a lot of high beans and then just selling as you go up. But looking at the chart, you really need to think, well, is this, make your own decision. I won't be, I don't know anything about high beans. So personally, I won't be but doing high beans. So Tim, in the comment, Tim747, thank you very much for coming back on the stream, by the way. You said when X is will, or when to expect X. I don't really know what that means, sorry. Do you mean like when to expect 2x or 4x or something like that? If you could clarify that, that would be that would be fantastic. Thank you. But KuCoin, what you're using, Ben, is really, really good, I think, for using bots. It's very accessible. On Binance, if you're listening and you use Binance to access grid bots there, if you just click on strategy trading, I think it's at the top right, you can access it through there. And the website that I showed earlier, that was called BitsGap. So that's grid bots, essentially placing multiple buy and sell orders and just going through the order book and using volatility as your friend. And there are obviously other types of bots that we can use as well that perhaps aren't used as much as are as popular as a grid bot on KuCoin. For example, if you can see at the top, we've got Spot Grid, which we've been talking about, Futures Grid, which is similar. Obviously, Ben had the leverage grid on his screen, and then Martingale. This one, in my opinion, can be a little bit dangerous. So the Martingale strategy traditionally is doubling down. So, for example, if you are in a long trade and the price goes down, what you can do, you can double your positions, or add more margin, double the margin at a lower price to bring down your entry point for that trade. Then if it goes down again, you'll do that again. So 4 times, then again 8 times, then again 16 times. And I think you can see sort of where I'm going here. Eventually, you're going to have so much capital in this trade that it gets a little bit dangerous. It's a little bit like that theory of playing roulette. There's some people that say, there's a way that you can play roulette and never lose. So if you bet on black, let's say 1 token on black, and it doesn't go black, fine. You just bet 2 on black. And then if it doesn't go black again, you do 4, and then 8, and then 16, and then 32, and then 64, and then 128, and 256, then 512, then 1,028. And in no time at all, you're going to have a lot. Yeah, you could go underwater very, very quickly. And I know quite a few people that were sort of taking Martingale type advice during the sort of bear run from 68k or so, and it didn't end very well at all. So using this Martingale method, just be careful. Grid, on the other hand, essentially it's just placing lots of orders above and below. And in my opinion, it's, of course, safer than keeping on doubling down to average your entry point for a trade. Are there any trading strategies, Ben, that you think are just ridiculous?
I mean, like most of them are ridiculous. I'm not a trader, but I did the martingale strategy, and in a bull run, it can produce so much profit because it's buying the dips, doubling down on the dips, and then it's going to keep running, and it dips again, you double down again or triple down. But yeah, you're right. Like even if you told it, so when I used to play around with them, I would say, all right, because you're doubling down so much, I would put large percentages in between the buys. Even like 10%, right? It's Ethereum has to drop 10% for me to double down. And that like seems safe unless you're at the top and the market's about to drop 80% in crypto, and then your 10% drops aren't as safe as you thought they were. So
Yeah.
what I like it, and also you've got just one take profit. Now you are lowering it, but you've got one strike you're trying to hit, with all your funds, as opposed to just thinking logically through grids. I think what interests me more is I could be down to the position and it's still generating cash flow. I've got all the time in the world to wait for Ethereum to go back up, right? If it's still generating incremental cash flow, I'm pretty happy about that. So,
Yeah.
and that's all true until I hit the bottom of my range, and then I'm kind of stuck waiting. So
Yeah. And that, yeah. I mean, in a bull run, it can be very beautiful indeed. If you've gone down past your original entry point, then double down, and then we shoot back up. Amazing. You've got this huge amount that you've invested from doubling down, and then we've shot back up. But if you keep on going down there, yeah, it does come a point where you will be essentially stuck. And yeah, that happened to. I've just been trying to find a few of the sort of Binance futures little they're little sort of graphics that show like a rocket taking off and like a percentage number. And then a little Telegram group that I was in, everyone was just sharing them. They were like minus 800%, minus 1,268%. I can't find it anymore. I'm not sure where they've gone, but yeah, not very good times. And then half the people there as well, because Binance, with warning, it was a couple of months warning, stopped futures trading for people in the UK. They all had to close their positions in a huge loss, unfortunately. But win some, you lose some. Hey, it's crypto, isn't it? It's not all fun and games. Some of it is.
Well, yeah, it's really not. So yeah, we'll track how this goes. We'll see. I'll keep you posted on it.
Thank you.
I just want down and up, and then down and then up.
Yeah,
that's what we're looking for here.
Just volatility, basically.
Yep.
One thing that KuCoin has, which is quite useful, if we go on the spot grid, it's got this volatility, percent of volatility. So you can not order, but you can rank different tokens by volatility and make a grid bot from that. So we can see, which tokens are most volatile at the moment.
It's interesting that Bitcoin is so high.
I know. Yeah, I think that might just that because of the recent drop. I'm not sure, but yeah, normally Bitcoin isn't up there with the volatiles, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. You are looking. Click on USD. Yeah. And that right up. Yeah, click there. Now let's look at those. There you go.
Whoa.
Is that Banks?
No, thank goodness. Oh my god.
Okay, it's
I had a heart attack then. BNX. No, Banks is BXX, I think.
Gotcha.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. So I was looking at the wrong thing, but it looks as though that. What's happened here? So, I know there are these groups that organize these pump groups and stuff on Telegram. I mean, this could have been one of them, but it seems to have held quite nicely, because normally these pump groups, they'll pump and then it'll just come straight back down. But this is ridiculous. I'm not even sure what BXX is.
It says $0 to $800.
Well, it's 100.
$100 to $800.
Then it wicked up to 1,800. In a matter of 30 minutes. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So BNX. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to look at, well, what exactly is BNX? But that's interesting. And then other volatile ones. We have EDG. And this is showing a sort of similar pattern to BNX. And then NGF. I don't know what any of these are. And then also another huge wick. And we can see that the volume here normally isn't much at all because of these sort of straight lines in between trades. That just means, yeah, no one's really trading it. But then suddenly, pow. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Sun, Nadal, Time, Hivalhal. I've not heard of many of the, well, barely any of these at all. But if you are trading with volatility like this, be very, 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 very careful. I don't know what has happened here or what's gone on. It might be one of these pump groups. It might be, I don't know, they've announced some big news, but I have no idea. It looks a bit fishy to me. I'll be careful. Yeah, I'm going to search what BNX is as well. Anyway, yeah, that's a sort of overview of various bots. And hopefully, yeah, how to use them. Obviously, if you have got any questions at all, send us a message, comment, that sort of thing. We're live every weekday, 7 p.m. UTC. Is there anything else, Ben, at all that you'd like to bring up, either about bots or anything in between?
I don't think so. I think hopefully this Silvergate news and this current dump kind of is short-lived. This type of news usually is short-lived. We'll just see what it does on the regulation front more than anything else.
Yeah, it doesn't. It obviously it's big news, but it doesn't seem, ridiculously huge. Like, for example, FTX.
Correct. I would agree with that.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll obviously keep everyone updated and stuff, and look forward to seeing everyone again tomorrow, 7 p.m. UTC, same time, same place. Looking forward to it already. Yeah, and if you got any questions, LMK, let us know. So with that, take it easy, Ben, and thank you very much for today.
Yes, sir. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, and goodbye, listeners. Thank you once again. See you tomorrow, 7 p.m. UTC.